Hi everyone, it's Natalie and welcome back to my channel. Today is the start of a very special reading vlog. I cannot wait for y'all to see this. I'm coming at you from the future. I only have one story left to read for this video, but what is the concept? At this point you probably know, but I'm still going to say it. I have gone on a journey reading romance books / erotica that centers on nuns and or priests. Now, how did I come to this point in my life? You will find out, because I will mention later on the book that inspired this video. But for you to know the journey that happens to me throughout this process, you will just have to continue watching. Now, I did not give a summary for the first book I'm going to be reading for this vlog, so I'm going to do that now. The first book I'm going to be reading in this vlog is Plum's Priest Daddy by Honey Mayer. Now, something I should have noticed and that you will understand better once you continue watching is the name of this series, which I did not notice, which is Clover City Little's Book 4. That will make sense to you later. Anyway, let's look at the summary. Plum Rolling Tide is a rockabilly fashionista who owns Clover City's premier cafe. The booksome barista's favorite hobby? Flirting outrageously with the priest who frequents her establishment. Gideon Davies is the handsome and unflappable priest at All Saints Church who has a weakness for almond croissants, flat whites, and disciplining mouthy young women. Plum and Gideon get to know each other in the biblical sense and beyond. But a tragedy at Plum's cafe forces their hand to put a label on their affair. Sure, they have a great time together, but can Plum see Gideon as a prospect for Mr. Right instead of just Mr. Right now? And will Gideon be swayed by the chorus of voices in his congregation calling his relationship with Plum improper and ungodly? You shall see what happens. Okay, y'all, it is the official start of this reading vlog. I'm about to start reading Plum's Priest Daddy by, what was their name again? Something Meyer. By now I will have already explained what this book is about, though that should be obvious. But, however, I am currently doing reading sprints / productivity sprints with Steph from Coffee Over Apples and Jeff from Dreaded and Reddit. So that is happening right now at this second. But I kind of need a break from working on my take-home exam because I'm in the middle of finals. So I'm like, you know what? For this sprint, I'm just going to start reading for this vlog. So I will update you when I have made some progress on this book. Okay, so first of all, he's an Anglican priest. That's not enough for me. That's not enough drama for me, okay? So like literally he doesn't even have to be celibate. It's perfectly fine for him to find someone to be with and do whatever on earth he wants to. I'm like, you don't have that tension, then whatever. But anyway, a little bit of context. So I'm only 25 pages in. Yes, I am already updating you. It's only a 200-page book. It's fine. So far, we know that Plum owns a cafe called Caffeinatrix. Choices were made. And so the priest comes in every day or frequently enough to her coffee shop, to the point that she has memorized his order and stuff like that, blah, 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 blah. So it's very early on and already the priest is like, well, are you interested or whatever? And I'm like, okay, I guess this is fine. But I'm gonna kink shame. Let's start there. I'm going to kink shame because, oh Lord. Oh Lord. So for context now that I'm about to kink shame, clearly there's a whole daddy kink in this book, but also other, BDSM stuff. And so he's talking about the BDSM club he attends. And he's like, in his mind, because he's not telling her this, most of his friends and acquaintances at the club preferred littles, and while he enjoyed spending time and occasionally playing with those sweet little darlings, his own hunger was for older age players, middles. He loved to see the satisfaction paces and bottles and diapers and other little trappings brought people, but his own wiring was electrified by brattier attitudes, somewhat more independence, but still in need of guidance and discipline, perhaps more discipline, and in a shamefully cliche desire, schoolgirls. Not actual schoolgirls, of course, grown independent women who enjoyed playing their part as he enjoyed playing his. I'm gonna kink shame because I can't deal with the littles, okay? Uncomfortable by this, disturbed, but we're gonna move on. What else? What else happened here? The other thing is that the writing is a bit much. You know, y'all know I read both indie published stuff and whatever, and I have fun, and I'm still having fun. But like, listen to this. Plum sighed and hoped this wouldn't go sideways. She didn't want to be not all mend by the guy who had a foot and about 50 pounds on her, nor was she interested in getting lectured by a patriarchy apologist who had her surrounded by his muscular body. On the other hand, better to find out now if he was a dickhead than to delude herself with more fantasies, so she went ahead. Like the whole not all men patriarchy apologist, I'm like, a little intense, like over the top, like calm down, ma'am, it's fine. So there's some writing like that that's a bit like much, but otherwise I just find this funny. I'm just like, the chaos energy, wow, what a time, what a moment. Also, I keep looking away because I'm reading on my phone, so I have to use my laptop to pull up my notes. So that's why I'm looking away. But yeah, those are my main updates. So we'll talk again when I have read some more. So when I started this vlog, I was not anticipating that I would be learning about littles and middles as a role-playing kink. But apparently that is the timeline I'm living in. Apparently that is a decision I made without even knowing. Which I guess is fine in the broader context that if this book is not going to serve me Catholic priest with like repression and the angst of like he's not supposed to have all these forbidden thoughts because he's supposed to live a celibate life, I guess we can have a littles and middles whatever kink, but I'm still gonna kink shame, okay? Like, I have educated myself a little bit. I have read a little bit about it. And so I understand it better. And I think I understand the comment that he made earlier in the book that Gideon made, but I'm still gonna kick shame. So this is now going to turn into a mini lesson for y'all. So in essence, littles are adults who role play as children. It can be children as young as infants up to like 11 years of age. And then those role play scenarios or scenes are usually non-sexual, but maybe sexual if it is negotiated between the two parties. So that's that. And then middles is the ones who essentially role play as high schoolers. And so apparently our protagonist here, Plum, is one of those people who role plays as a middle. I am not looking forward to those scenes. I'm definitely okay with like spanking and other stuff. I'm not super huge on like the daddy kink, but I'm like fine. But I haven't gotten to the point yet of anything absolutely sexual or on the page BDSM or kink happening, but not looking forward to anything that has to do with role play with ages. No. When he mentioned the diapers and the of the Anyway, I think I've made it now to like page 40. And in some ways, the romance feels a little bit fast. They're like very interested in one another, even though they haven't done anything yet. I don't know, the language feels fast, which again is just me being nitpicky because I'm familiar with the genre. I'm not surprised that it is going relatively quickly. So yeah, that's everything I have to say for now. I keep going back to the book though because it's kind of like one of those moments where you can't keep yourself from something that you know is not for you, but you're like morbidly curious. That's the word. You're morbidly curious. That is the stage I'm in. That is the situation I'm in. I'm like, I need to delve further, deeper, truly understand. So we'll see what happens. Hi, y'all. It is update time. I think it's December 10th. I'm not quite sure. Yes, it has taken a hot minute for me to get back to Plum's Priest Daddy. Let's not talk about it, okay? I am a poor, simple graduate student trying to survive these rough academic streets, okay? It's rough out here. Anyway, turned in my last final yesterday. Still have to do some work for my research assistant position, but that's not why we're here. We're here because I finally made some progress on the book. So I'm on page 75 now. I don't think I'll be reading more tonight, but for a while there, I was actually kind of bored because what has happened is I don't know where I left y'all off on, but basically Plum went to watch the priest Gideon give a sermon, and after the sermon she stayed and they had like coffee and donuts with the congregation. When that was done, they went to Gideon's house to have a scene and then have sex. So I was bored for like half of that. Like genuinely, I was like, this is doing nothing for me. Like I was neither disturbed nor enjoying myself. I was just like, this is just some words on a page that I'm reading. But eventually I did kind of get into it, but I also didn't because I'm not really into the whole like daddy kink. And then the age stuff started coming in a little bit more with more of like, ooh, let me teach you. And her being like, ooh, I don't know how to do this. Blah, blah, blah. And that's definitely not my thing. And the parts that I did want weren't super focused on, so I'm just like half got into it, half didn't. Ultimately, I'm like, it's fine, it's whatever. So hopefully I don't get bored again, but we shall see. We will discover what happens next. Okay, y'all, update time. It is the next day. I am whispering because it is like 10:30 p.m. at night. So I wanted to update you before I went to bed, but I'm, now at the suburbs, at my parents' house. So, trying to keep this low key. So I'm 67% into the book, and mostly I'm just kind of bored. Honestly, I'm being reminded of something that one of my favorite YouTubers talks about. Her name is Cat Black. She talks about, being trans, being in the BDSM community, or whatever you want to call it. She talks about many, many, many things. She's also a Black woman, so she talks about race a lot as well.
But as a BDSMer, she often talks about how like vanillas have this view of BDSM that's like very erotic or very sexual and dirty and whatever. And she talks about how a lot of BDSMers are just like nerds that are into very specific things. And so that's kind of how this feels like, to be honest. Like, it's not really doing anything for me, either positive or negative, because it's just like so straightforward and described in such a way that I'm just left like, I guess I guess that's something I read. I don't know. So I'm trying to push through, mostly because I'm reading this book and the other books in this video as part of the Reindeer Readathon, and I'm already losing on the readathon. So if I don't finish this, I'll be losing even more. So I'm like, let me just commit to it. But really, it's not doing much for me. And I think a big part of it is the age thing. Like, the age play stuff just really doesn't do it for me. And it takes me out of the story whenever it happens. Like, I'm left feeling very uncomfortable, which again is a choice I'm making for myself. So, you know, part of life. But the other issue I have with the story is that I'm like, this is 200 pages and in total. And I feel like I don't really know the characters. They feel very flat, very surface level. And I just know of them in a way that feels very superficial, and that doesn't make me care about them. So I'm bored. Y'all, I guess that's the conclusion. I'm bored. I'm hoping I'll keep reading tonight, maybe even finish, but probably I'll finish for sure tomorrow if everything goes according to plan, and then I can start the second book for this vlog.
Hi everyone, it is the next day. It is December 12th and I have finished Plum's Priest Daddy. So, what am I rating this? I don't even feel like I should rate it. I'm thinking maybe 3 stars, maybe 2.5 stars. Like, was it the worst thing I've ever read? No. Was it for me? Also no. Honestly, the books I'm gonna be reading for this vlog, it's not really to rate them, it's to share the experience of it. But anyway, the book wasn't horrible, definitely not the worst thing I've ever read, but also definitely not at all for me. So of course it didn't work for me. So I feel like I should give you a rundown of all the experiences I had reading this book, because I didn't talk about them too much yesterday because it was late and whatnot. But what experiences did we have with this one? Well, there was already, I've told you about the spanking. That's normal. There was like canes, paddles, different implements for that. There was medical play, which was interesting to say the least. There were a lot of enemas in this book. I was not expecting that. I was not expecting that. So that was a choice. And then there was also like, and as part of the medical play, there was like a kind of quasi pap smear. Interesting. And they put something that inflated. Choices were made. And I'm probably gonna have to stop this because my stepmom just arrived from church. Living the dream. Okay, y'all, we're back. So I was talking about the medical play. That was the major thing about the medical play. Again, interesting. And then there was, of course, the role playing with the age play thing, whatever it's called officially. So in that one, we did in fact get a scene where he dressed her up in like a schoolgirl uniform and they went to meet with another of his friends who has a little, and the little was all dressed up in her diaper and all of that stuff, and they had like a spanking session. Another experience. And then there was the whole scene where he washed her mouth with soap. Choices. Like, I don't know how I found this book that had like unique kinks, but it was there. It was there, it happened.
And again, mostly, honestly, it was fine. I didn't care. Reading, I literally did not feel one way or another. I could have perfectly lived without the H play, though. Completely 100% could have lived without it. It was not my thing. All of him taking care of her as if she were a child. Did not need that in my life. Absolutely did not. But it was something that happened. As a story overall, I was left unsatisfied because I didn't feel like I got to know the characters all that well. I feel like because it was more straight up kinky than smutty / erotica, there was just not a lot for me to get out of this reading experience. And then by the end of the story, they've been together for several months. It did not feel that way. It did not feel that way. They've been together for several months. There's this whole drama where her cafe burns down because she hires this guy that got out of prison. And there's a whole message of like, well, he needed a second chance, so it's okay. But of course, he's still the one who accidentally ends up burning down the cafe. That was a choice. So her cafe burns down and she's all in a slump and depressed, even though the insurance is gonna cover it and she'll be fine. And she has her priest daddy to take care of her. Anyway, she's all depressed about that and he's trying to get her out of that slump. And so, of course, he tries to do that by doing heavy kink play. And then eventually he just asks her to marry him. No. No, the answer is it was not doing anything for me. So probably 2.5 stars, only because the only reason this was painful to read was because of the H play. Otherwise, it was a boring read. Anyway. So the next book I'm going to start for this vlog is actually the one that this whole idea came from. Like, I was inspired by this book, and that is A Nun for the Viking Warrior by Lucy Morris. I saw this book and I said, I need that. I don't know what unhinged energy is going on, but I need that book. I need to understand why a Viking, why a nun. She's all dressed up in her nun, whatever you call that, her vestibule, her whatever. I saw this and I was like, I needed it. And so I was like, okay, maybe I can find other stuff that is similar to this. And so I started with the familiar, which was like erotica, priest stories. And now I'm moving on to the weirder, historical, but that will probably be, like, I'm hoping more enjoyable than Plum's Priest Daddy. We shall see. I don't know anything about this. Let's read the summary. Noblewoman Amy Evero had pledged her life to God until her father promised her in marriage to thundering Norseman Jorund Jotunson. After escaping her overbearing father, Amy vows never to fall under another man's thumb, but her resistance to being Jorund's wife turns to desire as she gets to know her intriguing new husband. For beneath his fierce exterior, she's glimpsed an unexpected pure heart, if only she can penetrate the fortress that surrounds it. See, this sounds like it's gonna be average. So, I'm not doing ratings yet. You know how this video is titled, like, From Weird to Unhinged. I'm not doing ratings yet. We will know the ratings of where it falls each book. What's average each one? But I feel like this one's gonna be pretty average in comparison to the previous ones and in comparisons to the ones to come ahead. Oh, the ones to come ahead, I'm also excited about. Why am I like this? Anyway, hoping to update you on this later today. Okay, y'all, so it's time for an update. It's a couple of days later. It's December something 14. I think it's December 14. I don't know. But I am 80 pages into A Nun for the Viking Warrior, and my assumptions so far have been correct. First of all, she is barely a nun in this book, okay? She was in the process of, becoming a nun, but he comes in to claim her as his wife before she actually, is officially a nun. So we get to see her as a nun for like 2.5 seconds. So I'm like, why is she dressed like this on the cover then? Huh? Why is she dressed like this? Why is the title this clickbaity? Questions I have. Also, you might be able to hear my neighbors jamming out. That's just something you're gonna have to deal with. Okay, second, what did I want to say? So far, this has been a very traditional romance narrative. It's kind of annoying, but I'm also happy reading it because it's something I'm familiar with, like that vibe of like, you may not love it, but its structure, what to expect. So you're still having at least a pleasant time. That's kind of my existence right now. And so some of the things I don't like is that because he's a Viking, she's all like, oh, he's a brute and he's so humongous and terrifying. And there's this whole thing that because she's a nun, she was going to be a nun and she never got married, she's all about like purity, and she's so pure and innocent and fragile and delicate. And I'm just like, get it together. Stop. Just stop. And then he has his moments where he has like a very short fuse. So he's always like trying to restrain himself from like arguing and being antagonistic, aggressive. I don't know how to say it, but he's always trying to keep himself from being rude as hell. And I'm like, get it together, sir. Anyway, there's been a couple of quotes I liked. Because in essence, what's been going on is that she was a lady from this important family. And so the Vikings have invaded Francia, and she went to become a nun because she wanted to avoid a loveless, unhappy marriage like the one her parents were in. And so her father's an asshole though, so he ends up promising her hand in marriage to this Viking as part of the process of creating peace between Francia and the Vikings. And so he goes and storms the nunnery where she was at and takes her, and they get married that same night. And they have this whole thing where they're like very attracted to one another in a way that's almost uncomfortable when you're reading from his perspective, because he's like ready to pounce all the time. And I'm like, calm yourself. At least he acknowledges that he needs to calm himself. That is comforting. Anyway, there are beautiful, depressing quotes such as this. Something her mother had said came to mind. A woman lives with the boot of her father against her neck, followed by the boot of her husband. We are only truly free when death comes to claim our soul. Dramatic. Maybe this is another one. This one kind of made me laugh at the end. He'd spoken of marriage as if it were a partnership built from mutual respect. An old Norse marriage vow, she suspected. Did that mean that Norse marriages were more equal? She dismissed the idea immediately. The Latin sacrament spoke of a similar devotion between man and wife in marriage, but it didn't mean it was true in life. He was probably only reminding her that he was a heathen and had no respect for her Christian values. I don't know what it is about that last Christian values comment that just made me chuckle, but it did. And then the last quote I'm going to leave you with, is it going to be the last quote? Yes, that's going to be the last quote I'm going to leave you with is, Christian ceremonies seem to be a lot of solemn listening to priests and doing very little. To him, it went against the natural order. Weddings should be a celebration of an alliance. This depressing affair was more like a funeral. So again, generally, this is fine. I will update you again when I have made more progress. Okay, y'all, it is the next day, December 15, probably, and I have made some more progress on this book, on A Nun for the Viking Warrior. I'm basically like 3/4 of the way through. I know I'm over 50% into the book, and generally speaking, I'm enjoying it. I'm having a good time. It's very much a traditional romance. It's not serving anything super unique, but I finally know why she's dressed like a nun on the front of the cover. And that's because literally once he takes her back home to her lands so that they can both take care of the lands and restore order and rebuild, because the lands have been devastated with all of the raids and attacks by different Norse tribes or whatever. So because she's so preoccupied dealing with that, she dresses with her nun clothing. They say the name a few times. I don't care what the clothing is called. She dresses like this is the point. And now we're finally at the point where she's not dressing like that all the time. Anyway, again, we still continue with him being incompetent at having conversations, and so their conversations kind of fall apart more times than not because he's unable to carry out a full conversation, but also she's not that good at it either. Like, there's this underlying tension because she thinks that he has a mistress, that his second in command, Valda, is his mistress, and it's like, honey, you can just ask him. Just ask him, okay? Just ask him the situation. Anyway, so there's that whole tension, and she's kind of like, well, I don't know if I really want to be with him if he has a mistress. And I'm like, girl, you haven't even asked him if that's the situation. Regardless, what else is going on here that might be worth sharing? I know there's a few quotes that made me laugh because honestly, the most absurd quotes I ever find are always in romance books written by straight women. Like, some of the descriptions that she's given for this guy, Jorund, or however you say his name, is hilarious. It's freaking hilarious. I'm looking for them. I know I marked them with an X. Okay. Here's one of them. She couldn't help but admire his long legs and firm bottom as he pounded up the stairs ahead of her. He was so masculine and vibrant. And I'm like, vibrant? Masculine and vibrant. As opposed to what? As opposed to what is my question. And I sent that quote to Steph from Coffee Over Apples, and her response is amazing. I'm paraphrasing here, but she said it made her think that he was a spider. Because it's all about his long legs and his bottom, so like his body. It was hilarious, okay? It was a moment. And then another quote here. Her stomach swirled at the thought. He was the strongest, most virile man she had ever seen, or viral. I think it must be virile. I don't know how you say that word. But the point is that she describes him based on, like, his ability. He's the perceived ability of his to, like, procreate. I don't understand, y'all. Why? Why must he be described this way? Questions I have. And okay, let me spell the word just in case, because I know probably my pronunciation was terrible. It's Virile. So if you know what that word means, I mean, I already kind of defined it. Anyway, that was a moment. That was a time. Regardless, I'm much more enjoying this than Plum's priest daddy. Yeah, no. And I'm hoping to finish this tonight. I don't know. I'm kind of in a roll, so I'm hoping I really do finish it tonight and I can move on to the next pick. Okay, y'all, so it is the next day, December 16, time for my final update on A Nun for the Viking Warrior. So I'm giving this 3 stars. It was fine. It wasn't anything special, but it also wasn't anything particularly terrible, I guess. Like, overall, my biggest annoyance with this book is that it had this whole thing that I mentioned earlier where she thinks that he's having an affair with his like second in command, but he's not, and she's like so convinced about it, but she won't just straight up say, are you having an affair with this woman? And it was so annoying. It was so annoying. And then the woman, that other woman, was actually interested in him, but she also knew that he had no interest in her, so she wasn't actually trying to pursue him at all anyway. So it's like, why the unnecessary tension and drama and drawn out for so long? That's what I can't stand with some of more traditional romances, that they draw out the tension and the miscommunication to the point where I feel anger in my soul, okay? That I feel like I want to rip off the pages, okay? Because I do not like when they take so long to resolve something that could be said in plain words. Like, I understand pulling it out for a little bit, you know, but like for so long, and for her to be so convinced that that's what's going on when it's not, and when she has no concrete proof. Like, the most proof she has is that she's seen the other woman leave his room, but like, that's not proof of anything. Anyway, apart from that, the smut was boring. It was just boring. Okay, let's be real here. It was just boring. It did not serve anything unique, anything. It was fine. Honestly, okay, let me be more forgiving. The smut was fine. I just want a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could have done more for me. And in comparison again to Plum's Priest Daddy, it definitely did more for me than that. But overall, I would say both of them were boring. The other one, because it was too kinky, so I couldn't get into it, so it was boring. And this one, because it was too vanilla, and so I couldn't get into it because it was it was boring. It was boring. Neither of those books served in that department. What a disappointment. And the other part I didn't like is that basically like 3 pages in a row, this author describes the silliest things as masculine. She says twice that she heard a masculine groan because they're having sex in the moment. And then it's like a masculine cry. I'm like, bro, just say he groaned. Just say he cried out. Like, we know he's a dude. It doesn't have to be masculine. We know he's a guy. So inherently, because he's a guy, it's a masculine sound. So let's not get into it. This is just a whole qualm I have with romances unnecessarily describing things as feminine and masculine. Like, where is the necessity? Where? Because I don't find it. Anyway, that's just my queer ass being tired. Okay, that's all it is. Let me see if I had any other quotes I wanted to pull out from this. I feel like there was at least one more, but I don't even know anymore. Right, I didn't like the whole thing where basically his second in command, and that's basically his best friend, is in love with him, and with absolutely no build up to it. It was just pathetic, honestly. That whole plot line was just pathetic. So here's the conversation. She's right. When he looked at her, she shrugged, crossed her arms, and stared out into the horizon. About the way I look at you. She's not being ridiculous. And he thinks to himself, was every woman in his life going to turn on him today? And he says, what are you talking about? Tears appeared in her eyes, and he felt the ground tilt beneath his feet. Valda didn't cry. I thought I hid it so well, she smiled weakly. But I suppose another woman would see it. Horrified understanding must have dawned across his face because Valda gave a hollow laugh. Don't worry, I know you don't feel the same way. Unnecessary! Unnecessary. Okay? Not needed. No lo queremos. A la basura.
Like the whole plot thread was just no. But at the end of the day, again, definitely not the most terrible thing I've read. So that's why it's like a solid 3 stars. Like, this is just traditional, expected, run-of-the-mill romance. Nothing wrong with that. It just was not serving what I wanted. So the next book, hopefully, will serve, because I have actually read books by that author before and kind of enjoyed them. So we shall see.
Okay, y'all, I'm coming at you from the kitchen because I'm hoping to make some cookies later. And yes, I will be sharing that journey with you. Making some chocolate chip cookies. Very, very excited about that, but I am waiting for some of my ingredients to arrive, so that is still pending. But I am coming at you because I have started and finished Her Alien Priest by Michelle Mills. This was so good, y'all. So, what is this about? This is about this woman who lives in like this commune with a very strict religious family, and it's within this author's universe with aliens and stuff like that. So she ends up being sent off to a nunnery, but she's sent to the wrong nunnery, and so she ends up at this monastery or whatever it is with this priest who is an alien, and they immediately have the hots for each other, which is exactly what I was expecting to happen, because I've read other books, I think it was only one book by this author before, and I really enjoyed it. The only reason I didn't continue with that series, because it's like part of her Curvy Monsters series. I can't remember what it's called. Something about a nanny? I can't remember the name. I'll probably put the book here so that you can see it. But anyway, I had read that one and enjoyed it. I thought the writing was a bit repetitive, but I was like, whatever. The only reason I didn't continue is because there was some dubious consent stuff that was going to happen in the second book that I was not into, so I gave up on it. But since this one was a short novella, I was like, I could go for Her Alien Priest. Let's do it. And I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. Was it the most amazing thing ever written? Absolutely not. There were bits in the beginning especially that were very repetitive. Like, we would see something from her perspective and then it would be repeated to us in his perspective, and I'm like, we don't need that in our lives. Like, once is enough. We can retain information, especially for such a short novella, because this was like 70 pages. I'm like, you don't need this repetition. But what else? Oh, the thing I liked about this is that not only was there a vow of celibacy, but there was also a vow of silence, okay? So I was like, okay, there we go. We have the tension that I was looking for. I'm like, we have the repression. But of course, since it was so short, like, that didn't last too long. And of course, it was resolved in such a way that they did get it on before he even formally completed his vow of silence and celibacy, because he took that vow because he really cares about this monastery, or again, whatever it is. But it really went into disarray because they couldn't decide which god it was a tribute to. And so he has been spending his time in this vow of silence and celibacy, because if he did it for 5 years, they would invest the money in fixing up the monastery. But of course, he gets the hots for this nun. And he's like, I have to find a way to fix this. And he ends up finding this secret passage that had hidden proof of who the god that the monastery was a tribute to. So he went off. So he went and looked for her, fucked her brains out, and then he went to prove that the monastery had a specific god that it was a tribute to, and they live happily ever after. It was a good time. It was a good time. Honestly, it was what I needed considering that Plum's Priest Daddy didn't work for me and that A Nun for the Viking Warrior was boring. So I'm happy. I am happy about this series of events. I will update you when I have read one of the truly cursed short stories / novellas that I have ready for this video. Cannot wait. Cannot wait.
Okay, y'all, so the time has come. I'm going to start making my chocolate chip cookies. So we're gonna start by melting some chocolate. So for now, let's start with putting some butter on here. Okay. And I'm supposed to use a different kind of pan for this, but this is what we're working with, so this is what we're gonna go with. Okay, that's looking good enough for me, so I am going to let this cool for a bit. Now for the next stage, I need some flour. How much flour? Okay, this might be a better angle. Now we're gonna mix some sugar and eggs. So now we're going to do things slightly out of order because my large bowl is this one. So I'm going to have to figure this out. Okay, y'all, now I'm gonna smash some almonds, mix those in, and then this has to sit and wait for 20 minutes before I can put it in the oven. So I will update you then. Okay, y'all, final shot, some almonds and some chocolate chips. In this house, we believe in pouring as our heart's desires without mixing. Measuring, I meant. So yeah, now I have wrapped this in aluminum foil because I don't have plastic wrap, and I will update you once these are ready to be rolled up and then put in the oven. Okay, y'all, let's do it. Let's put some cookie dough on this baking sheet. have it, folks. Into the oven these go. Okay, y'all, time for an update. I will be telling you about a short story / novella I just finished reading. But first, time for an unboxing. I'm pretty confident these 3 packages I have here are from one of my friends. We shall discover what they are together. I should have waited for, Christmas, because I am pretty confident this is a Christmas gift, but I don't care. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's see. Yes! I had a feeling it was gonna be this. Oh my god. I had a feeling one of them would be this because I have wanted this for such a long time. It has been languishing in my Amazon wish list for a very, very, very long time. If the other package doesn't have a little note of who sent this to me, I will ask one of my friends if it was her, because I think it might have been her. Who knows? Who knows? But so excited to have this. So I can watch it whenever I want. Oh, what a delight. What a joy. What a joy. I freaking love Ratatouille, okay? Everything. Remy, he is everything. We'll see if it's another Disney movie or if it's something else. Let's see. Wait. Let's see. Birds of Prey. I freaking loved this movie. Oh my god. I'm so excited. Oh my god, I'm gonna force my parent to watch this with me because this movie is so good. The soundtrack is so good. This has to be my friend because she also loves this movie. Let's see if this one has anything here. Oh my god. I'm so happy. Y'all don't understand how much I love this. Okay, I love this movie so much that almost every song in the soundtrack was on my playlist of like Spotify Wrapped stuff, like the whole playlist they created of my favorite songs. Almost every song on this soundtrack was on there because I was obsessed, okay? Obsessed. Iconic levels. Also, I know I almost called this Suicide Squad, but it's because my first instinct when I see her is to think of Suicide Squad, but obviously no, much better, which is Birds of Prey. Let's see this final package, if this will open prettily for me. Apparently not. Aggression is needed. Let's see. Okay. Ooh, Daughters of Henri. Ooh, I was not anticipating this. I'm very excited. I mean, this cover is like stunning. Gorgeous. Just look at it. Incredible. Oh my gosh. Wow, I was not expecting this, but I'm so excited, so happy. Don't know or don't remember much about this, but obviously it's a Black fantasy. I keep staring at the cover on my freaking screen of my phone because it's so gorgeous. Oh my gosh, and it is kind of chunky. Again, for me who is a coward, it's kind of chunky. Anyway, oh my gosh, so excited. Let's see. A gruesome war results in the old god's departure from Earth. The only remnants of their existence lie in two girls, twins, separated at birth. Goddesses who grow up believing that they are human. Daughters of Henri explores their epic journey of self-discovery as they embark on a path back to one another. Yes! So ready. So ready! I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I can't believe that now I'm going to share with y'all truly disturbing content. Okay, let me open up my laptop so that I can read some passages to y'all, because you really need to experience this, some of the quotes from this book. So the book that I read was, or more like a short story / novella that I read was Into the Stirrups, Sister Laura, a shivering nun's first gyno exam, Divine Medical Humiliation by G.C. Cummings. This was how many pages? I think 54 pages of utter chaos. Just complete, utter chaos. So what is this about? This is like the 8th book in a series about this man who pretends to be a gynecologist, and he and his partner in crime give, do the exams that gynecologists do to the women at this college campus that's near them. Let's not get into the dubious consent stuff, okay? And let's not even touch that, because it will all fall apart. It will all fall apart if we even go there. So they have been spending time doing this. And so they're having an off day where they only have one appointment of a college student. And lo and behold, what happens? Not one, but 2 nuns walk into their office. Because again, they're not really doctors. And for clarity, the protagonist tried to go into medical school 20 years ago, only stayed in medical school for 1 year before he quit. Have that in mind when we think about the fact that one of the nuns is like 20 years old. Anyway, I don't even think I can rate this. Let's start with that. I don't even think I can rate this, because this was an experience. This is not something you rate. This is something you read and you go like, why am I like this? Why am I doing this? What did I do to get here? That's what this is. So I'm not sure I can rate this, but what I can say is that it was wild. It was wild, and the only way that I can convey that to y'all is by sharing some quotes. So let's enjoy this together, shall we? So at this point, the protagonist is doing the internal examination of the young nun. And he says, "There, success! I had my finger up a young nun's you-know-what. And goddamn, was it a treat. Sure, all virgin pretty much the same. Tight, soft, silky smooth. But when it's a nun's virgin, and you know damn well that it will probably stay that way forever. I don't know. It just lent it an extra special allure that no nun could ever match. This was virgin flesh with a capital V." Let's take that in for a moment. And then, disturbingly, "Yep, this was one hell of a youthful little tunnel. I don't know how, but it just felt compellingly young." And he's talking about her anus. Because, of course, part of the examination also has to do with her rectum. Of course. Of course.
Wait, there's more. As is customary when I examine a woman's rectum, I took the liberty to work my index finger back into her... There's another word there, but I'm not going to use it. Bowling ball style. Let me repeat that. As is customary when I examine a woman's rectum, I took the liberty to work my index finger back into her bowling ball style. I shared that quote with Steph from Coffee Over Apples. And she was disturbed by the logistics. Okay, I was disturbed by the overall comparison. I'm like, bowling ball style? Why is this something we're saying? Why is this a description? Why? And Steph was like, but what does that mean though? Like, how does that work? Like, how? And I'm just... Two kinds of people. The kinds of people that are just disturbed, and the kinds of people who are like, but make it make sense. Make it make sense. Ooh. Let me read another quote for y'all. So then it moves on to the older nun, because it's like the mother superior maybe, and this younger nun go in, and the mother superior stays with her during the examination, and then she's like, oh, can you examine me too? Which obviously that woman knew what she was doing. She knew what she was asking for. And so he's now going to do the rectum examination, and so he's looking at her ass, and he's like, man, what a goddamn fucking resplendent ass. I was expecting it to be complete, meaty, and plump, and in that regard, it did not disappoint. But what I wasn't expecting was that it would be so fucking nice, curvy, and well proportioned. It was a showstopper, and frankly, I was even a little angry as I stared down at it for a brief instant. Angry for her becoming a nun and not sharing such a succulent specimen of femininity with the rest of the world. Her anus, nestled beautifully within her deep crack, was fucking stunning. It was tiny and puckered and surrounded by a large ring of deeply hued tissue. It was gorgeous. Christ, I felt like praying to the Lord myself. Heavenly Father, I thank you with all my heart for the privilege of experiencing this wonder of creation. There's more. So now he's talking to her, preparing her for further parts of the internal exam. And so he says, however, I will now be doing the internal part of the exam. So just relax and start taking nice deep breaths. I relubed my fingers as the Reverend Mother went all out with her deep, calming breaths. But it made no difference. For the instant my fingers went up inside her holy hole. Holy hole. And there's at least one more. There's at least one more. So at this point, the nun decides she wants to have sex. The Reverend Mother decides she wants to have sex with this doctor. And she says, and most of all, I want to be plundered by a man. I shouldn't, but I do. I've waited and wandered and wanted for so long. Well, your wait is now officially over, I announced. I eased her shoulders back down to the table, lifted her feet back into the stirrups, grabbed my cock and eased it into her sacred, wanton, So
that was what I read, y'all. That was it. That was it. I don't think there's anything I can say with actual words that will be more impactful than that, okay? That will make this experience clearer to y'all than that, okay? So, what a moment. What a time. What a time. Tomorrow, I will come at you with a bonus short story because it doesn't completely fit into the premise of this video, but I simply could not ignore it. So tomorrow, I will come at you with a bonus short story, and then I will rank all of these books based on how deeply disturbing they are or how tame they are. So I will see you then. Okay, y'all, so it is the next day, December 17th. As a bonus for this video, I'm going to read a book that has a reverend instead of a priest or a nun involved. So, I read Let Them Finger You, Honey, or Else. How My Timid Wife Was Shamed at a Church Picnic by Our Sleazy Reverend and His Altar Boys. Holy Humiliation. By J.C. Cummings. What a time. What a moment. This author only knows how to serve the most chaotic energy possible. Like, the title alone is a summary of the book, okay? But in essence, this man and his wife are in like this cultish religion where they have spent years now in it, and they're barely, sexually involved because it's a sin or whatever. And he's sick and tired of this church, but she's really into it. And so the lengths that she goes, because the reverend says she should in order to be purified. Some of these quotes, I'm like, I don't feel like I should even read them on the internet, but I will try to modify them slightly. Let's start with something soft. Let's start with what the congregation is called. So here we have this. Nothing is fun when it comes to these people. The members of the House of the Saved, aka the Hots or Hotties, as they're known in town, never have fun. Hotties, okay? The Hots. Why? and that's just tame. That's just tame. We're gonna get now to truly offensive stuff. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I mean, we were in a crowded park on a fucking Saturday, and my beautiful curvy wife was standing in front of everyone, including her parents, her brother, and her sister, in nothing but her bra and panties. And even as she continued to shiver up a storm, gasp, and bite her lower lip, one of those college-age altar boys was reaching out and unhooking her bra. Another was pulling the cups from her heavy tits. A third was working on the waistband of her panties over her hips, and the fourth was kneeling in front of her, pulling them to the ground, then standing and stepping back to let everyone see, to see my Lisa standing there completely nude. And here's more. The entire congregation was staring at Lisa's deep, round ass. Seconds passed. Then, bend down, grasp your ankles. Slowly, very slowly, my Lisa bent forward. Feel shame for what you've done, Tornsney shouted. Expose your shameful rear even more lewdly. Feel the eyes of everyone open at the sight of your splayed, evil buttocks.
Now you will expose yourself in the lewdest manner possible. First, reach between your legs and spread your dirty, filthy, you-know-what open. Show it to us. Show your wicked womanhood to our Creator. And as you do, apologize to Him silently. Beg for His forgiveness. I need forgiveness for reading this, for sharing this with the internet. And more. Release your you-know-what. Now reach back with both hands and spread your bottom to the utmost. Show this most sinful part of you to us. Show it to our Creator. Why is this like this? I feel like I should have given a warning that this was gonna be some questionable stuff. And again, once again, we're not even going into the consent stuff. Let's not even go there, because then this video will go on for 10 more years. Now, let's get to the disturbing part. Let's get to the butter. Then John, who is one of the altar boys, John went around and snatched a plastic picnic container of butter off the table. He held it out to the others, and the four of them started slathering the stuff all over their fingers. You know what's coming with those buttered fingers, right? You know. You know. I don't have to say it. I don't have to say it. But of course, I'm gonna say snippets of it. Please, Carl, she went on, just as Andrew thrust two buttered fingers up you-know-what, causing her to lunge further onto the table. I have to go through with this. She gritted her teeth as the grinning young man began using his buttered fingers for you-know-what. Butter! Oh my gosh. And then the Reverend is like, no, that has not been enough punishment. Because, okay, I did not explain why this was even happening. So this is happening because she came to this picnic wearing like a cute sundress or whatever. And so that was too sinful. So she must be punished. And so she has to truly feel regret for her actions. And so the Reverend starts going when he thinks that she hasn't felt humiliated enough. Oh, dear Lord, we have brought you this woman, a woman who has grievously sinned, a woman who has shamed our church and herself, a woman who so desperately needs full salvation. Give me the answer, O Lord. Give me a sign of what you command her to do. And this is the command. This woman's only path to salvation, her only hope, is to purify her sin-filled womanhood with my sacred, sanctified scepter. Her evil womanhood will receive my purified manhood. Why is this author like this? There are no words. There are truly no words, okay? So let's leave it with the last instance of the butter returning to us. Meanwhile, Tornsney looked down at the half stick of butter lying on the table where the altar boys had left it. He picked it up, then brought it beneath his robes, rummaging around, undoubtedly getting himself all nice and slippery. And that is this book. That is the end of this book. What have we learned? What have we learned? That, as expected, I saved the best for last. What a time. What a moment. What a moment. I guess it's time for the ranking. So basically, A Nun for the Viking Warrior, that's like the tamest. It's like a little bit strange, but like nothing
Nothing really out of the ordinary, nothing really out there, maybe a little teeny bit, but not anything. So just a little strange. And then I guess we can put, I feel like when you look at objectively the things that happen in Plum's priest daddy in comparison to the things that happen in her alien priest has to be the next one. So we have a nun for the Viking warrior and then her alien priest, because it is weird. It is weird, but in the grand scheme of things, if you overcome the part where he's an alien that looks like a demon and part of their religion is that priests and nuns can be together and they can have families and children and whatever, then I guess if you overlook that, in general, the story isn't that strange. But then I feel like definitely we get into the more unhinged if we think about the fact that Plum's priest daddy had littles and middles and medical play and soap, washing her mouth with soap. You're crossing there the line to unhinged. And then of course, followed by that, I would say the Reverend one is truly bizarre, but unhinged, completely unhinged, is the nun gyno exam. Spectacularly unhinged, just completely ballistic, just out of this world. And I don't recommend any of these books. Not that I was expecting to. So that is what we have learned today. We have learned that none of you should go on this journey with me. Do not pick up these books unless you truly want your mind blown or bored, okay? Because obviously within the scale, you go from bored to just a wild time. So thank you all so much for watching this very, very strange experience. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you next time.